Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Welcome back. It's that time of the week. Oh yeah, weekly update for my reading for the week. Let's dive right in. I had a pretty good week. I finished 4 books this week, so had a solid week. That was weird. Anyway, let's just dive right in. First up, I finished Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse V. This was my reread for the month. This is a book I read, a billion years ago now. And it's like, I remember liking it, but like, I don't remember too much. Kind of one of those things where, because it's been so long since I read it. And so let me reread it. Let me reread this book. And yeah, it's so good. It's satire, it's irreverent, it's funny, it's strange. It's all of that and more, right? We're following Billy Pilgrim as he's making his way through his life, going a bit backwards and forwards in time through his life, and we're just along for the ride, right? Of course, a lot of this, not a lot, but it's set during the bombing of Dresden during World War II, and as we see that horrendous outcome of that. But then just following his life as he, I don't even know, lives the rest of his life in maybe a sort of a boring way, except for the whole alien abduction thing, and living his life in a zoo for about 6 months on Tralfamadore. But I mean, other than that, pretty humdrum life. Of course, this is funny, and of course, my takeaway is the terrible, of course, effects on a human after witnessing such horrendous acts of war and violence, and what that really does to someone. That's my takeaway from it. I don't know that I can add much more to the discussion of Slaughterhouse V. It's considered a modern classic for a reason. It's damn good, and really happy to have reread it. So yes, finished that up, and it's short and quick anyway, so that was easy. I then dove into Breadcrumbs by Ursu. This wasn't on my TBR for the month, but I needed something that had a book with 11 letters in it for the Free Your Shelf monthly challenge, so I could, of course, black out the bingo board. Yeah. So I looked through my shelf, because of course I'm reading from my shelf this year, and I found this one. It's got 11 letters in the title. This'll work. And this was lovely. This is a middle grade story, and I did listen to the audiobook. The narrator, I wrote on a sticky note, is Kirby Hayborn. He did a pretty good job. And this is a story about Hazel and Jack. Hazel and Jack have been best friends since they were tiny little kids, like 3 or 4 years old. They're next door neighbors. They're now 11 years old though, and things are possibly changing a little bit. Hazel's life has really changed lately. Her parents have gotten divorced, so it's just she and her mom. Money's a bit tight, that kind of thing. So she used to go to what to me is described kind of like a Montessori type of school, more a private school, and now she has to go to public school. But the good thing about going to public school is Jack is in public school, but Jack also has friends at that school that don't necessarily always include Hazel. And Hazel is sort of an outsider at this new school. She gets kind of picked on a little bit. She is an Indian girl who was adopted, so she has that going on as well. And basically one day, and something changes with Jack. He just is. Seems like a totally different person. And then he's like missing, essentially. And no one seems to be concerned about it, except for Hazel. She's like, I know Jack. This is not like Jack. So I'm gonna go find him. And so she sets off on an adventure through this enchanted forest and looking for Jack, right? And it's really lovely. And the journey through this enchanted forest really pulls in all of these sort of old, fairy tale, folk tale, nursery rhyme type lore, and really kind of spins it on its head a little bit. There's references, all sorts of references to Narnia, Harry Potter, Star Wars. I mean, Breadcrumbs itself is like a nod to Hansel and Gretel. There's witches and wolves and a woodcutter. I mean, it's really delightful. But like I said, it's really, to me, a testament to friendship, right? Hazel and Jack, they're best bets for a reason. And she's gonna go find him, and no matter what it takes. So this was lovely. I highly recommend it. The cover is stunning. So if you're into middle grade stories and you like, a fantasy type story, oh, I recommend this. It was really, really wonderful. And yeah, it was just really nice. I thought it was really great. And a lot of the sort of things that the kids are dealing with, I thought was handled really well. Again, I mentioned that Hazel was adopted, and so she does feel like the outsider. But to me, the more importantly was that her parents were divorced, and her dad is like getting remarried, all of that. And there's this, he's not really around very much right now because he's getting married and he's busy and doesn't seem to have much time for Hazel. There's this scene where her dad calls, and he's not expecting Hazel to answer. He's expecting her mom to answer, and it's just a really awkward conversation. And my heart just kind of broke for Hazel. Anyway, it was really good. And Jack himself is actually dealing with some issues too. His mom seems to actually be pretty chronically depressed, and Jack is really working through that as well. Yeah, they got a lot going on in here, but I thought it was handled really well. It's a lovely story about friendship, and yeah, it was good. I'd recommend it if you're a middle grade reader. Oh, my friends, I finished Dracula finally by Bram Stoker. I've been reading this basically all month. I had 2 chapters left, and I knocked those out last night. I said I gotta get finished with this. Dracula. What does one say? I didn't love it. I liked parts of it. I didn't like parts of it. So it was very much middle of the road for me. I don't know, guys. Okay. A lot of it, it's not necessarily the language, I will say. The language was pretty, it was written in 18, whatever the heck, it was written 1880, something, I don't remember now. Anyway, so there's definitely a language difference, right? But it was pretty digestible. I didn't find it necessarily hard to understand or anything like that. It wasn't difficult in that way. But oh my word, could it be really overly descriptive, especially when talking about other people and how amazing they are. It would go on and on about some character's love for another character because it's so amazing. And I'm like, dude, y'all need to simmer down. This is going on way too long. So it was very overly descriptive. The Dracula himself isn't really in the book very much. I mean, he's in the beginning bits, when Jonathan Harker is traveling to his castle, and he's kind of dips in and out throughout the rest of the story as they're in London, and he's Dracula's in London, and then he gets killed in the end, and it was pretty uneventful, and I don't know, guys. I am very happy to have finally read this, because this, of course, is a classic of the horror genre. I mean, I'm very happy to have read it. I don't want to say I'm bashing Dracula. I definitely appreciate for what it is and for what it's done, for the history of literature. But phew, I'm not going to ever reread this or anything. It's long. It's just over 400 pages, which isn't crazy long. But for a book that's written totally in journal and diary entries and stuff, that got, for me personally, was by the end, I was just whew, that that style of writing, I was struggling by the end of it. I think just because everything was being told to you, because all the events have already happened. They were just writing about it in their diary after the fact. I don't know. Again, by the end of it all, I was like, woof. I about can't take no more. I about can't take anybody's diary entries anymore. So, again, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing it, because I enjoyed parts, but I overall just am like, whew. I'm glad it's over. But thanks to Brad for hosting the read along, because that definitely helped me get through this book. Working like the chapter a day and kind of just slowly making my way through it, I think definitely also helped me get through it. And so very, again, loved that I finally read it. Check it out the list. Am I right? And just recently, I finished Still Life by Sarah Winman. I loved this book, you guys. I loved it so much. This is an historical fiction story. I haven't read a good historical fiction in a while. I feel like, oh God. I'm tongue-tied. What do I say? Okay, so our story opens up. It's 1944. We are in Italy during World War II. And there's really just a chance meeting between Ulysses, who is in the British Army, and a woman named Evelyn, who is an art historian who was there in Florence to try to kind of save some of the artwork, because it's wartime. And they just have this sort of chance meeting, and I don't know, this friendship buds from this chance meeting that kind of permeates this story. And then we pick up with Ulysses after the war. He goes back home to the East End, London, and just starts living out his life. We meet all of his friends and his wife, who then becomes an ex-wife. There's Peggy and Cole and Cressy and Pete. And we follow, I'm telling you, I love this book. And we just follow his life. This book spans over 4 decades. And comes a point when Ulysses is back home, and he gets sort of, basically a lawyer comes to see him, looking for him. And he's like, yeah, I've got something really important for you. And it's from this guy named Arturo, who he met while he was in Italy during the war. And Ulysses actually saved Arturo from committing suicide. And I guess Arturo never forgot that. And so he wills him his home in Florence. So Ulysses is like, do I stay? Do I go? What do I do? My life is here. And he decides to go. So a lot of this story is Ulysses and some of his friends come along, and as they go live in Florence, because why the hell not, right? I'm telling you, somebody gives me a house in Florence, you best be believing I'm out, okay? But so it follows these characters as they are living in Florence. And then we do dip back to Miss Evelyn a little bit as well, and we catch up with her as she's back in England and working her job as an art historian, teaching lectures, and she and Ulysses a couple times have they miss each other, over the years and things like that. And then they meet up again, at another point. And this is really just a story. I don't think just a story, but it's just a story about life. The ups and downs, the heartbreaks, the love, the friendships, the absolute kindness of people, that it can be wonderful. You go through the bad times and you have really wonderful times in between. These characters are so fantastically written. I'm telling you, I wish I could know all of these people, particularly Cressy. How do we love Cressy? So yes, if you are a historical fiction fan, that spans, a couple of decades. Like I said, we start in 1944 and ends up in 1970. Like 1970 is our last year? Maybe 1980. Anyway, 70 something. You get the point. And so if you like wonderful characters that, I mean, really, it really molds to that like found family, like choosing who your family is, and surrounding yourself with people that you love. And it's wonderful. I'm telling you, it's so wonderful. There's bits of art. There's gorgeous descriptions of Florence. It's fantastic. It's not super plot driven, but it's just characters living their life. So if you like that kind of story, I highly recommend this. It's so fantastic, and I cannot recommend the audiobook enough. Sarah Winman narrates this herself. She does a fantastic job with all of the characters, their different, voices and dialects. Oh God, y'all, seriously. All the stars. This is a beautiful story. I laughed, I cried. I want to be friends with these people. It was wonderful. Go read it. So that was, I can't recommend it enough. Go read it. It's fantastic. And that's what I finished. Progress-wise, I'm making my way through Mickey 7. I got approved for this on NetGalley. I'm about just under halfway through. This is a sci-fi story. I'm enjoying it. I'm still making my way through my short story collection, Midnight from Beyond the Stars, enjoying that. I'm making my way through Eclectic Nightmares by Jeremy Fee, poetry. I'm making my way still through House of Chains by Stephen Erickson. I did bring that up. I'm about a third of the way through. I'm making progress. I'd like to get through the part 2 by the end of the month. We will see. If I have time, I'd like to pick up Wisps of Gold by Leah Lindemann to finish out the month. It's just over 200 pages. Well, closer to 300, but this is another historical fiction story, but I really want to read this, and why not now? But if I have time, I might dive into that. But I do want to finish up Mickey 7, because that's for NetGalley. That's it. That's my reading. I'm trying to make this too long, but it's already too long. How did your reading go this week? Have you read Still Life? Please let me know if you've read it and you loved it. Thanks so much for watching. I always appreciate your time. Love your comments. Thanks so much. I'll catch you in the next one as always. Bye-bye. Oops.